You're listening to That Music Podcast with Bryson Tarbet, the curriculum designer and educational consultant behind That Music Teacher and the Elementary Music Summit. Each week, Bryson and his guests will dive into the reality of being an elementary music teacher and how music can truly be transformative in the lives of the students you serve. Show notes and resources mentioned in this episode can be found at thatmusicteacher.com.
Hello and welcome back to That Music Podcast. This is going to be an extra special kind of bonus episode of the podcast, and I am super excited because it is all about one of my favorite kind of things that I've come up with, which is the idea of 7 minutes. In teaching, whether you're teaching kindergarten or sixth grade, I firmly believe that the majority of the things that you do, especially at the younger age, should be no longer than 7 minutes. And I want you to test this theory for me. I want you at some point today to set a timer on your phone for 7 minutes and sit there and do nothing. That's a long time. Imagine your students, for whatever reason, hate the thing you're doing. And they have to sit there for 7 minutes. They are going to likely act out. They're going to be bored, they're not going to be engaged, and they're going to feel like they're just sitting there doing nothing. The reason I chose 7 minutes, honestly, is kind of arbitrary. I just kind of went with it and it's worked pretty well for me. But I think it is incredibly crucial to move from either one activity to the next, one concept to the next, and ideally one classroom zone to the next, or sitting to standing, or standing to sitting, or sitting down to playing game every 7 minutes. And some of you are probably thinking, goodness gracious, Bryson, that is so much in a lesson. And the answer is yes, it really is. But the reality is as music teachers, we don't have the luxury of extra time. Now, first of all, I'm not saying any teacher has extra time. Don't twist my words. But the reality is we only see our students every so many days, right? So we have to make the absolute most of the instructional time we have. So if we even move everything up from 7 minutes to 8 minutes, the amount of compound time that they are no longer, basically other instructional time that we have by spending 8 minutes on one concept rather than 7, that adds up really fast. So what can you do within 7 minutes? I think 7 minutes is the perfect time for a game. I think if it starts going closer to 10 minutes, you get kids that are like, all right, cool. We played bounce high, bounce low. Now what? I think if you get too short, we have students that are saying, well, we just got to this. What do you mean we're done? We only had 2 turns, right? We want to make sure we have time for both sides of it. 7 minutes, I think, is a great way for students to be able to work together to create a rhythmic notation of something. It gives you some time to work together on the board to fix it out, gives you some time to practice it, to clap it, to touch it. But it often doesn't get to that point where students are checked out and they're throwing popsicle sticks or they're doing a little spinny thing on the ground because they're ready to move on. I truly, truly believe that 7 minutes is really kind of that special sweet spot. But the reality is this, your classroom is different than mine. Your classroom might be 5 minutes. It might be 10 minutes. What I want you to do is I want you to find whatever that time is for you and your students. I would highly recommend you start with 7 and kind of seeing where that goes. And it might be kind of based on grades. For instance, my preschoolers, if I tried to get them to do the same thing for 7 minutes, I probably wouldn't be successful. But I know at this point in my career that if I tried to have them do one activity for more than 7 minutes, it would be a bloodbath because that level of engagement, it reaches kind of that, there's like a bell curve, right? We want to move on when the majority of engagement is there and we're just starting to get drop off, and move on to something else to keep that roller coaster going on the upward slant rather than everybody crashing and burning because our kind of engagement and our focus has really gone to the tank. If you're sitting there saying, I don't know how much I can fit in 7 minutes, like that seems really short. I want you to challenge yourself to deliver a chunk of instruction in 7 minutes, because I think you'd be surprised at how much you can cover when you realize that there are some strategies that you can use to make that better. So for instance, We like to talk a lot. Sometimes what we're talking or the instructions we're giving to be helpful are actually just wasting time. Sometimes it is so much more impactful to just start doing and learn by mistakes, or learning the actions by doing rather than talking about it. For instance, if I could say, all right, we need to make sure that we're using our head voice and making sure that we're standing up nice and tall, and we need to make sure that we're matching pitch. Or I could say, everybody go, woo, right? And they're gonna echo me and standing up nice and tall, and boom, that kind of fixes a lot of the stuff. It's really easy for us as teachers to just talk and talk and talk and talk and talk, but we need to talk less, say more, right? Kind of that wonderful phrase you've probably heard before. But Bryson, I have upper elementary. They can do so much longer than 7 minutes, you might be thinking. And the answer is yeah, sometimes they can. I like to flip that 7-minute rule a little bit differently, especially if my students are working like in groups to come up with a composition or doing some group work or something. I make sure that I am checking in at a minimum of 7 minutes. And when I say check in, I mean everybody stop, everybody look at me, everybody give me a thumbs up, a thumbs down, or a thumbs in the middle. Where are we at? Getting up, checking on the pulse. Between those 7 minutes, obviously I'm rotating and kind of going in here, there, and that, but I think we need to at least reset the focus at least every 7 minutes. And sometimes that could be something as simple as, all right, everybody freeze, everybody take a breath, hold it, let it out. All right, remember, you should be working on this, and this, right? Whatever you're working on, kind of resetting the room, getting everyone back in the focus, and making sure that everyone is back on task every 7 minutes at the minimum. So this episode is going to be short and sweet. I want you to challenge yourself to make sure that your lesson segments are no longer than 7 minutes. At least give it a shot and give it a real try and see what that does to your classroom, what that does to your engagement, what that does to you as a teacher to try to having to try new things. I would love to hear how this changes, or what your thoughts are, or even if you're like, I tried it, Bryson, everything blew up. I would love to hear that. Please send us an email, hello@thatmusicteacher.com, or send us a DM over on Instagram @thatmusicteacher. I would love to hear how that all went. So again, this is going to be a really short and sweet episode, but it would mean the world to me if you would take a moment and leave a review here on the podcast, wherever you're listening. If you're on iTunes or Spotify, you should just be able to scroll down and click on some stars. We would love a 5-star review, but even if it's below 5 stars, we would still love your review. With that being said, have a wonderful week, and I will see you next week on That Music Podcast.